The house was silent, a void so deep it swallowed the jingle of Christmas bells that should have been ringing. I stood in the living room, the scent of pine from our decorated tree mocking me, as my trembling fingers clutched a note left on the kitchen counter. "We're gone for the holidays. Don't follow us. Mark." My heart plummeted, the words slicing through me like shards of broken ornaments. I'm Emily Harper, 38, a high school English teacher who believed in the warmth of family traditions, baking cookies with my kids, watching old holiday movies with my husband, Mark, snuggled under a blanket. For 15 years, we built a life in this cozy Seattle suburb, raising our 2 kids, Sophie, 14, and Lucas, 11. But that Christmas Eve of 2025, I woke to a house stripped of their presents, as if they'd vanished into the snowy night. The note wasn't just a message. It was a betrayal, a crack in the foundation of everything I thought we were. The day before had been a blur of normalcy. I'd spent the afternoon grading papers, humming carols, while Mark wrapped gifts in the den. Sophie had been texting friends, her laughter echoing, and Lucas was glued to his new video game. We'd planned a quiet Christmas, our usual, with hot cocoa and stockings stuffed to the brim. Nothing hinted at the storm brewing beneath the surface. When I went to bed, Mark kissed me goodnight, his lips warm, his smile familiar. How could I have missed the lie in his eyes? I read the note again, my pulse hammering. A luxury vacation? Without me? The words didn't compute. Mark, a software engineer, had been working late, claiming deadlines for a big project. Sophie and Lucas had been their usual selves, moody teenager, energetic preteen. Yet they'd all conspired to leave me behind, slipping out while I slept. I checked my phone. No messages, no missed calls. My calls to Mark went straight to voicemail. Sophie's phone was off. Lucas's, too. Panic clawed at my chest. I tore through the house, searching for clues. Their suitcases were gone. Sophie's favorite scarf, Lucas's gaming headset, missing. In our bedroom, Mark's side of the closet was half empty, his winter coat absent. The kids' rooms looked staged, too tidy, as if they'd planned this for weeks. My mind spiraled. Had I been too absorbed in work? Had I missed some fracture in our family? I sank onto the couch, the Christmas lights blurring through my tears. The doorbell jolted me. It was Mrs. Callahan, our nosy but kind neighbor, holding a plate of gingerbread cookies. "Emily, you look pale. Where's everyone?" she asked, her eyes scanning the empty house. I couldn't speak, just handed her the note. Her face fell. "Oh, honey, this is cruel." She sat with me, her presence a small anchor in the chaos. She suggested checking Mark's credit card statements. Maybe they'd left a trail. I logged into our joint account, my hands shaking. A charge from 2 weeks ago, $8,000 to a travel agency for a Maldives family package. My breath caught. The Maldives? Crystal waters, overwater bungalows, a paradise I'd once dreamed of visiting with Mark. He'd booked it for them, not me. Another charge, plane tickets, for seats, dated for last night. They'd planned this escape, knowing I'd wake to an empty house on Christmas Eve. Anger surged, hot and sharp, but beneath it, a deeper pain. Why hadn't they wanted me? I thought of Sophie's recent distance, her eye rolls when I asked about school. Lucas's obsession with his games, barely looking up when I spoke. Mark's late nights, his vague excuses. Had they grown to resent me? Or was this Mark's doing, orchestrating a betrayal so elaborate it felt like a plot from a novel I'd teach? Mrs. Callahan urged me to act, not wallow. "Find them, Emily. You deserve answers." She was right. I wasn't going to sit in this hollow house, surrounded by decorations that mocked our fractured family. I grabbed my laptop and started searching for flights to the Maldives. If they thought they could erase me from their lives, they were wrong. I'd chase them to paradise and demand the truth, no matter how much it hurt. But as I booked a ticket, doubt crept in. What if confronting them made it worse? What if they looked at me with cold, united eyes, confirming I was the outsider? The note crinkled in my fist. I had to know why. Why they'd chosen luxury over love. Why they'd left me to face Christmas alone. The answer was out there, in the turquoise waters of the Maldives, and I'd find it, even if it broke me. The plane's hum was a dull roar in my ears as I stared out at the endless ocean below, my heart a tangle of dread and determination. 24 hours ago, I'd been sipping coffee in my kitchen, expecting a cozy Christmas with my family. Now, I was on a last-minute flight to the Maldives, chasing a husband and children who'd abandoned me without a word. The note haunted me. Don't follow us. Mark's handwriting, usually so precise, had been scrawled, as if he'd hesitated before committing to those words. I pictured him writing it, Sophie and Lucas asleep, unaware of the fracture he was creating. Or were they? Had they all sat around our dining table, plotting this escape? The thought made my stomach churn. I landed in Malé at dawn, the air thick with salt and heat. The resort's shuttle boat was a sleek vessel, gliding toward an island fringed with palm trees and turquoise waves. I clutched my bag, the only luggage I'd brought, and scanned the other passengers, families laughing, couples holding hands. No sign of Mark, Sophie, or Lucas. My chest tightened. What if I'd misread the charges? What if they weren't here? At the resort, a sprawling paradise of overwater villas, I approached the front desk. The clerk, a young woman with a warm smile, checked her system. Mr. Harper's party? Yes, they checked in last night. Villa 23. My knees nearly buckled. They were here. I asked to be put in a nearby villa, claiming a surprise reunion. She hesitated but complied, handing me a key to Villa 25. The walk to my villa felt like a march to battle. The wooden boardwalk stretched over the ocean, each step echoing my resolve. I dropped my bag and changed into a sundress, trying to blend in with the carefree tourists. Then I headed to Villa 23. My heart pounded as I knocked, but no one answered. I peered through the window. Empty, but signs of them were everywhere. Sophie's flip-flops by the door, Lucas's gaming console on the table, Mark's sunglasses on the counter. I waited on their villa's deck, the sun climbing higher, my anger simmering. Hours passed. Finally, I heard voices, Sophie's laugh, Lucas's chatter. They appeared on the boardwalk, Mark trailing behind, a tropical drink in his hand. They froze when they saw me. Sophie's eyes widened, Lucas gasped, and Mark's face drained of color. Emily, Mark stammered, his drink slipping from his hand, splashing onto the wood. What are you doing here? What am I doing here? My voice shook, loud enough to draw glances from nearby guests. You left me on Christmas Eve. You took our kids and ran to some paradise without a word. Sophie stepped forward, her face a mix of guilt and defiance. Mom, it's not what you think. Not what I think. I cut her off, tears burning. You left a note telling me not to follow. You planned this. All of you. Lucas, clutching a snorkel, looked at his feet. We didn't want to hurt you, Mom. Then why? I demanded, turning to Mark. His silence was deafening, his eyes avoiding mine. I grabbed the note from my pocket, shoving it toward him. Explain this. Now. Mark rubbed his neck, the gesture I'd once found endearing now infuriating. It's complicated, Em. I needed a break. We all did. A break. My voice cracked. From me? What did I do to deserve this? Sophie burst into tears. It's not you, Mom. It's Dad. She glared at Mark, her words slicing through the humid air. Tell her, Dad. Tell her about the emails. My blood ran cold. What emails? Mark's shoulders slumped, his facade crumbling. Emily, I messed up. I've been talking to someone online. It's not serious, but I needed space to figure things out. The world tilted. Not serious? He'd orchestrated this elaborate escape, dragging our kids into it, for some online fling? I looked at Sophie and Lucas, their faces etched with shame. They'd known. They'd carried his secret, and it had torn them apart. Why didn't you tell me? I whispered to them, my voice breaking. Sophie sobbed. We wanted to, but Dad said it'd hurt you more. He said this trip would fix things. Fix things. I laughed bitterly. By leaving me alone on Christmas? Mark stepped closer, his voice low. I thought distance would help us reset. I wanted to scream, to throw his drink in his face, but Lucas's small voice stopped me. Mom, we didn't want to go. Dad said we had to. The truth hit like a wave. Mark had manipulated them, used our kids as pawns in his cowardice. I knelt before Lucas, pulling him into a hug. I'm here now, I whispered. Sophie joined us, her arms wrapping around me. For a moment, it was just us three, the family I thought I'd lost. But Mark stood apart, an outsider in his own betrayal. I rose, facing him. We're not done, Mark. You don't get to run from this. I turned to the kids. Let's go to our villa. We need to talk. As we walked away, the Maldives' beauty felt like a cruel backdrop to our shattered trust. I didn't know what came next, but I knew one thing. I'd fight for my kids, for our truth, no matter the cost. The villa's ceiling fan whirred softly, a stark contrast to the storm raging in my heart. Sophie and Lucas sat on the wicker couch, their faces pale under the tropical sun filtering through the windows. I paced the polished floor, trying to piece together the fragments of our family's betrayal. Mark's confession about the emails lingered like a poison, and I needed answers, now. Tell me everything, I said, my voice steadier than I felt. No more secrets. Sophie wiped her eyes, her voice trembling. It started a few months ago. Dad was always on his laptop, smiling at messages. I thought it was work, but then I saw her name. Laura. He didn't know I saw. Laura. The name hit like a punch. I pictured some faceless woman, her words luring Mark away from us. How did you find out? I asked. Sophie hesitated, glancing at Lucas, who nodded. I borrowed his laptop for homework, she said. He'd left his email open. There were pictures, messages. She's some marketing exec from his company's conference last year. They've been talking ever since. I sank into a chair, my legs weak. And you didn't tell me? I wanted to. Sophie cried. But Dad said it was nothing, that he'd stop. He said this trip was to make things right, to focus on us as a family. Lucas piped up, his voice small. He told us not to tell you, Mom. He said it'd make you sad. I closed my eyes, the weight of their loyalty to Mark crushing me. They'd protected him, not me, because he'd manipulated their love. And you believed him? I asked softly. Sophie nodded, tears spilling. I thought if we went along, he'd fix it. But then he booked this trip and said you couldn't come. He said you needed a break, too. A break. The same excuse he'd given me. I wanted to storm back to Villa 23 and confront him, but my kids needed me here. What else do you know about Laura? I asked. Lucas shrugged. She's in New York. Dad said she's just a friend, but he smiles when he talks about her. My heart twisted. Mark's smiles used to be for me, for our late-night talks, our shared dreams. Now they belong to someone else. I pulled Sophie and Lucas close, their warmth grounding me. You did nothing wrong, I told them. This is on Dad. But was it? Doubt not at me. Had I been too busy grading papers, too wrapped up in routine, to notice Mark slipping away? I thought of our last anniversary, how he'd seemed distracted, his kisses perfunctory. The signs were there, but I'd trusted our life too much to see them. I stood, resolve hardening. We're going to talk to Dad together. No more lies. They nodded, fear and relief in their eyes. We walked back to Villa 23, the boardwalk creaking under our steps. Mark was on the deck, staring at the ocean, a beer in his hand. He looked up, startled, as we approached. Emily, he started, but I held up a hand. No. You listen. I sat across from him, Sophie and Lucas at my side. The kids told me about Laura. I want the truth, Mark. All of it. His face crumpled, but he didn't deny it. It's not what you think, he said, his voice low. Laura and we connected at a conference. She's going through a divorce, and we started talking. It was emotional, not physical. I swear. Emotional. I scoffed. You left me on Christmas Eve for an emotional affair? You dragged our kids into this. I didn't mean for it to go this far, he said, his eyes pleading. I was overwhelmed. Work, the kids, us. Laura was an escape. I thought this trip would clear my head, help me recommit to you. By excluding me? My voice rose, drawing stares from a passing couple. You made our kids keep your secret. You let them think this was their fault. Mark looked at Sophie and Lucas, guilt etched on his face. I'm sorry, he whispered. I thought I was protecting you all. Sophie shook her head. You lied, Dad. To all of us. Lucas's lip trembled. I just wanted us to be normal again. The air grew heavy, the sound of waves a cruel reminder of the paradise we were supposed to share. I wanted to hate Mark, to scream at him for breaking our family, but seeing him so broken, I felt a flicker of pity. He'd lost himself, and us, in his cowardice. We're going back to the villa, I said, standing. You don't get to decide what happens next, Mark. Not until we figure this out as a family. As we walked away, Sophie slipped her hand into mine, and Lucas leaned against me. They were still my kids, still mine to protect. Mark's betrayal had cracked our foundation, but I'd rebuild it for them. The question was whether Mark could ever be part of that again. The sun dipped low, painting the Maldives sky in hues of orange and pink, but the beauty felt like a lie. Back in our villa, Sophie and Lucas curled up on the bed, exhausted from tears and confessions. I sat by the window, staring at the ocean, my mind racing. Mark's emotional affair with Laura was a wound I couldn't bandage, and his decision to flee with our kids cut deeper than any physical betrayal. I opened my laptop, driven by a need to understand. I searched Mark's email, grateful he'd never changed our shared passwords. There they were, dozens of messages from Laura Bennett, a name now seared into my brain. I skimmed the subject lines. Miss you, can't wait to talk. You deserve better. My stomach twisted. The emails weren't just friendly. They were intimate, filled with shared dreams and complaints about his stressful home life. My home. Our life. One email, dated a week ago, stopped me cold. The Maldives sounds perfect. Wish I could be there with you. Mark had replied, maybe next time. This is for the kids. A lie, or a half-truth. He'd brought Sophie and Lucas to keep up appearances, but his heart was with her. I slammed the laptop shut, my breath ragged. How long had he been planning this double life? Sophie stirred, her voice soft. Mom, what are we going to do? I looked at her, my fierce girl trying to hold it together. We're going to figure out what's best for us, I said. Not for Dad. For us. Lucas sat up, rubbing his eyes. Is Dad going to leave us? The question broke me. I pulled him close, his small frame trembling. No matter what happens with Dad, you have me. Always. But the words felt hollow. Could I protect them from this pain? Could I rebuild a family when its core was fractured? I needed a plan. Staying in the Maldives, surrounded by Mark's lies, was suffocating. But leaving meant giving up on answers, on closure. I decided to confront Laura. If she was the catalyst, I'd face her, too. I found her LinkedIn profile, Laura Bennett, 35, a polished marketing exec in New York. Her photo showed a confident smile, the kind that screamed self-assured privilege. I drafted a message, my fingers shaking. I'm Mark's wife. We need to talk. Before I could hit send, a knock came at the door. It was Mark, his face haggard, eyes red. Can we talk? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I stepped onto the deck, closing the door behind me. The kids didn't need to hear this. You've got 5 minutes, I said, crossing my arms. He exhaled, running a hand through his hair. I ended it with Laura. Last night, after you showed up, I told her it's over. I laughed, sharp and bitter. You expect me to believe that? After you dragged our kids across the world to hide your affair. It wasn't an affair, he insisted, but his voice lacked conviction. It was a mistake. I got caught up in feeling wanted, understood. Work's been hell, and you've been so busy. Don't you dare blame me. I snapped. I've been teaching, raising our kids, keeping this family together while you chased some fantasy. He flinched. I know I screwed up. I thought this trip would help me sort it out, bring us closer. I didn't think you'd follow. That's the problem, Mark. You didn't think about me at all. My voice cracked, betraying the hurt I tried to bury. You made our kids lie for you. You made them feel like they had to choose. He looked away, the waves crashing below us. I love you, Emily. I love our family. I just lost my way. Love. The word felt like a slap. Did he love me when he booked this trip without me? When he smiled at Laura's emails? I wanted to believe him, to salvage the man I'd married. But trust was a fragile thing, and he'd shattered it. I need time, I said finally. And so do the kids. We're staying here, but not with you. You stay in your villa, and we'll figure out what's next. He nodded, defeated. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. As he walked away, I felt no relief, only a hollow ache. I returned to the villa, where Sophie and Lucas waited, their eyes searching mine for hope. I forced a smile. We're going to make our own Christmas, I said. Just us three. We ordered room service, tropical fruit platters, fresh fish, and played card games, their laughter a fragile bomb. But as night fell, I lay awake, Laura's emails haunting me. I hadn't sent that message, but I would. Tomorrow, I'd face her, not for Mark, but for me. For the truth. For the family I refused to let slip away. Morning light spilled over the Maldives, the ocean glittering like a promise of peace I couldn't feel. Sophie and Lucas were still asleep, their faces softened by dreams, free from the weight of our reality. I sat at the villa's small desk, my laptop open, Laura's LinkedIn profile staring back at me. I'd rewritten my message to her a dozen times, each draft angrier, then softer, then resolute. Finally, I sent it. I'm Emily Harper, Mark's wife. Your emails crossed a line. I need to understand why. Can we talk? The act felt like reclaiming a piece of myself, but the waiting was agony. I stepped onto the deck, the salty breeze sharp against my skin. Mark's villa was quiet, no sign of him. Part of me hoped he was suffering, wrestling with his guilt, but another part, the part that still loved him, ached for the man he used to be. Sophie joined me, her hair tangled from sleep. "Did you talk to Dad again?" she asked, her voice cautious. "Not yet," I said, but I reached out to Laura. Her eyes widened. "The woman Dad was talking to?" I nodded. "I need to know her side. If she's part of this, she doesn't get to hide." Sophie hugged me, her grip fierce. "You're so strong, Mom." I wasn't. I felt like I was crumbling, but for her and Lucas, I'd hold it together. We spent the morning snorkeling, the vibrant coral and darting fish a brief escape. Lucas laughed for the first time in days, chasing a clownfish, and Sophie snapped photos, her smile almost genuine. For a moment, we were a family again, even if incomplete. Back at the villa, my phone pinged. An email from Laura. My heart raced as I opened it. "Emily, I'm so sorry. I didn't know Mark was hiding this from you. Yes, we can talk. I'm in New York, but I'm free for a video call tonight." She included her number and a time. I stared at the screen, torn between relief and rage. She sounded remorseful, but could I trust her? That evening, I set up a video call in the villa's private office, ensuring the kids were occupied with a movie. Laura's face appeared on the screen, her polished exterior softened by nervous eyes. "Emily, I had no idea Mark left you behind," she began. "I thought he was taking the kids on a family trip. He left me a note on Christmas Eve," I said, my voice tight. "Told me not to follow. You were part of his reason." She winced. "I'm so sorry. Mark and I met at a conference. We connected over work stress, then it became personal. But I told him from the start, I'm going through a divorce, and I wasn't looking for anything serious. He said he needed a friend, that his marriage was strained." "Strained?" I laughed bitterly. "He never told me that. He hid everything." Laura nodded, her eyes downcast. "He painted a picture of a distant wife, always working. I didn't know you were blindsided. When he mentioned the Maldives, I thought it was to reconnect with you all." Her words stung. Had Mark seen me as distant? I'd been juggling teaching, parenting, and keeping our home running, but I'd thought we were partners. "Did you know he was lying to our kids?" I asked. She shook her head. "Not until you messaged me. I ended things with him last night, Emily. I don't want to be the reason your family hurts." I wanted to hate her, but her sincerity disarmed me. She wasn't the villain, Mark was. "Thank you for being honest," I said finally. "But this doesn't fix what he did." "I know," she said. "If there's anything I can do, tell me." I ended the call, my emotions a tangled mess. Laura wasn't the problem. She was a symptom of Mark's choices. I needed to confront him again. But first, I needed to protect Sophie and Lucas. They deserved a Christmas, not a war zone. I found them laughing at the movie, and my heart lifted. "Let's make tonight special," I said. We ordered a feast, lobster, mango sorbet, and decorated the villa with shells we'd collected. Sophie strung fairy lights, and Lucas drew a makeshift Christmas tree on paper. It wasn't our Seattle home, but it was ours. As we ate, Mark knocked on the door. I let him in, his face etched with exhaustion. "I want to be here," he said. "For them. For you." I studied him, searching for the man I'd loved. "You can stay for dinner," I said. "But this doesn't mean forgiveness." He nodded, joining us at the table. The kids were wary but warm to his presence, their laughter a fragile bridge. For one night, we were a family again, but the cracks remained. Tomorrow, I'd decide our future, whether Mark could be part of it, or if I'd build a new one without him. The Maldives morning was deceptively serene, the ocean's gentle lap a stark contrast to the turmoil in my heart. Last night's dinner had been a fragile truce, Mark's presence a bittersweet reminder of what we'd been. Sophie and Lucas had laughed with him, their guarded smiles a flicker of hope, but I couldn't shake the weight of his betrayal. Today, I'd decide our path forward, not just for me, but for them. I took the kids to the beach, their chatter about seashells and waves a welcome distraction. As they built a sandcastle, I watched Mark from a distance, sitting alone on his villa's deck. He looked lost, a man adrift in the wreckage of his own choices. I wanted answers, not excuses, and I needed them now. I approached him, the sand warm under my feet. "We need to talk," I said, my voice firm. "Alone?" He nodded, leading me inside his villa. The space felt foreign, cluttered with the kids' things, but devoid of warmth. "I know I hurt you," he began, his eyes on the floor. "I don't expect you to forgive me, but I want to fix this." "Fix it?" I snapped. "You left me on Christmas Eve, Mark. You made our kids lie for you. You were planning a life with Laura while I was decorating our tree." "It wasn't like that," he said, his voice cracking. "Laura was a fantasy, a way to escape the pressure. I never planned to leave you." "Then why hide it?" I demanded. "Why take the kids and run?" He rubbed his face, exhausted. "I was drowning. Work, bills, the monotony. Laura made me feel alive again. I thought this trip would help me let her go, focus on the kids. I didn't think you'd find out." His honesty was a knife, twisting deeper. "You didn't think about me at all," I said. "You broke us, Mark, and you used our kids to do it." He nodded, tears in his eyes. "I know. I hate myself for it. Tell me what to do, Emily. I'll do anything." I wanted to believe him, but trust was a ghost now, fleeting and intangible. "I need space," I said. "We're going home after Christmas. You can come, but you're staying somewhere else until we figure this out." He agreed, his shoulders slumping. As I walked back to the kids, I felt a strange relief. Not forgiveness, but clarity. I couldn't control Mark's choices, but I could control mine. I'd protect Sophie and Lucas, give them the stability he'd shattered. Back at the beach, Sophie ran up, her face bright. "Mom, look at our castle." It was lopsided, adorned with shells, a testament to their resilience. I hugged them both, vowing to be their anchor. That afternoon, we joined a resort activity, painting ornaments with local artisans. The kids dove in, their hands smeared with bright colors, and I felt a spark of joy. Mark joined us, keeping his distance but engaging with Lucas, helping him paint a star. It was a small gesture, but it mattered. For the kids, I'd let him try to rebuild what he'd broken. That night, I called my sister, Claire, back in Seattle. Her voice was a lifeline. "Em, you're stronger than you know," she said. "Come home. We'll figure it out together." Her words steadied me. I booked flights for the three of us, leaving Mark to follow or not. As I tucked the kids into bed, Sophie whispered, "I'm glad you came, Mom. I was scared you wouldn't." "I'll always come for you," I said, kissing her forehead. Lucas echoed her, his voice sleepy. "Love you, Mom." Their love was my strength. I lay awake, planning our return. Seattle wouldn't be the same. Mark's betrayal had changed us, but I'd rebuild our home, piece by piece. I'd show the kids that love could endure, even through pain. And Mark? He'd have to prove he deserved a place in that new life. As the stars glittered over the Maldives, I felt a resolve I hadn't known I had. This wasn't the Christmas I'd planned, but it was the one that would define us. I'd fight for my family, not the one Mark had broken, but the one I'd forged with Sophie and Lucas, stronger than ever. The plane ride home was quiet, the hum of the engines a steady backdrop to my racing thoughts. Sophie and Lucas slept, their heads resting against each other, unaware of the weight I carried. Mark had booked his own flight, promising to give us space in Seattle. I stared out the window, the clouds below a blank canvas for the life I'd rebuild. Christmas had come and gone, but its scars lingered, a reminder of the family I'd lost and the one I'd fight to save. Back in Seattle, the house felt both familiar and foreign. The Christmas tree still stood, its lights unplugged, ornaments untouched since I'd left. Sophie and Lucas dropped their bags, their faces heavy with the weight of our fractured holiday. "Can we take the tree down?" Sophie asked, her voice small. "Not yet," I said. "We'll do it together, make it ours again." They nodded, trusting me to guide them through the wreckage. Mark moved into a nearby hotel, respecting my need for distance. He texted daily, asking about the kids, offering to help. I let him visit, supervised, for their sake. Lucas clung to him, desperate for normalcy, while Sophie was colder, her trust harder to mend. I watched them, my heart torn between hope and caution. I met Claire for coffee, pouring out the whole story, Mark's emails, the Maldives, Laura's confession. She listened, her eyes fierce with loyalty. "You don't owe him anything," she said. "But if you let him back in, make him earn it." She was right. I enrolled in therapy for myself and the kids. Our first session was raw, Sophie's anger spilling out, Lucas's fears surfacing in quiet sobs. I held them, promising we'd heal together. The therapist suggested family sessions with Mark, but I wasn't ready. Not yet. Days turned to weeks. I threw myself into teaching, finding solace in my students' essays, their stories of resilience mirroring my own. At home, we created new traditions, Friday movie nights, baking with Sophie, gaming with Lucas. The house began to feel like ours again, not Mark's shadow. One evening, Mark asked to talk. We met at a park, the kids playing nearby. "I've been seeing a counselor," he said, his voice steady. "I'm working on why I ran, why I hurt you. I want to be better, for you, for them." I studied him, searching for sincerity. "Words aren't enough," I said. "You broke our trust. You have to show us, not just say it." He nodded. "I know. I'm not asking for forgiveness yet. Just a chance." I didn't promise anything, but I agreed to family therapy. The sessions were hard. Sophie's accusations, Lucas's confusion, my own pain laid bare. Mark listened, owned his mistakes, and slowly, the kids began to soften. I didn't know if I could love him again, but I saw glimpses of the man I'd married, fighting to return. Spring came, and with it, a tentative hope. We took down the Christmas tree, replacing it with a garden in the backyard, Sophie's idea, a symbol of growth. Mark helped, his hands in the soil, a quiet act of commitment. One day, Lucas laughed as Mark chased him with a hose, and Sophie smiled, unguarded. I felt a spark, not of love, but of possibility. I'd never forget that Christmas Eve, waking to an empty house, the note that shattered my world. But I'd learned something stronger than betrayal, resilience. My kids were my heart, and I'd protect them, no matter what. Mark was a question mark, a man trying to rewrite his story. Whether he'd be part of ours was up to him, and us. As we planted the last flower, Sophie hugged me, whispering, "We're okay, Mom." Lucas joined us, and for the first time in months, I believed her. Our family wasn't whole, but it was ours. We'd build it, day by day, not in the shadow of a luxury vacation, but in the light of our own strength, together.